And we're live. Hey everyone, my name is Anthony Johnson. I'm the founder of the 21 Convention, CEO of 21 Studios. Here today with Nick Sparks, who's live remotely in Austin, Texas. Nick Sparks, how you doing?
Not doing too bad. Good to be here today.
Fuck yeah, man. Always good having you on. For those of you who don't know who Nick Sparks is, he is a coach at sparksofattraction.com. He is also the most popular and most famous 21 Convention speaker in history. In total, I think he has about 2.5 million views on our channel, which is like enormous. Closest behind him is like 1 million views in a single speaker. So Nick is by far and away leading the pack, kicking ass, and he's earned that. And he's spoken at the convention now, I think, 6 times. Recently, Orlando was a sixth time. I should know that off the top of my head, but you've spoken so many times, it's hard to keep track.
Yeah, I'm up there in terms of maybe not quite as many as Steve, but
Yeah.
I should be up there top five.
Mhm.
Most times spoke at the convention.
I think
That's
so.
really my crowning achievement. The views, like those are nice and all, but really my long-standing attendance is really the thing I'm most proud of.
Yeah, since 2009 when you and Jonathan Hudson came. That was fucking awesome, man.
Heck yeah.
I remember meeting you guys being like so nervous. I was like, dude, this is fucking Nick Sparks. Like, holy shit. And that was before you were like mega famous. So, yep.
Yeah, that's right. You knew about me like long before most people did.
Yeah, yep. Just following the social, man.
Yep.
So guys watching, actually, let me open up the chat box. You can actually, if you want, during this little live stream we're doing for free here on YouTube, you guys can ask Nick questions live, and I will read them off to him if I can find the chat box. And here it is. Found it. Jackpot. Oh, people are going apeshit. Cool. All right, guys. So yeah, if you have questions while we're doing this, please feel free to ask them. I'll be able to read them off to Nick as we go. Everyone, Nick, by the way, is just saying that they love you and that you're awesome and stuff.
Thanks. Hey guys.
So, yep.
Excited to be here. Like always love the 21 convention audience. Always.
Yep.
Cool.
They love you too, apparently. So, so guys, what I want to talk about with Nick today is obviously, you know, Nick, you just spoke in Orlando, but also you're gonna be speaking upcoming in Miami, Florida at the 21 Convention 2016 instead of the Under 21 Convention you spoke at recently. So you can tell us a little bit about how the talks are going to differ from those two events. The one that they're going to see online later now that's, you know, already filmed, but then versus the Miami one.
Yeah. I'll jump right into that. So I had this topic that I was excited to talk about, and I thought this will be great for the 21 convention. I'm really excited to get into this, really excited to talk about it. I think it's going to be great. And then you invited me to do the Under 21 convention. And so while I'm really excited about this topic I have coming up, I wanted for the Under 21, I wanted to do something that was a little more focused for guys who might be in college and really have information that still would be applicable to everyone. But I really wanted to make sure that I was honing in on those guys. So that's really what was my speech was about in Orlando, was what I would have done or what I wish I would have known back in college or at that age at any time. And so now with Miami coming up really quickly, with the 21 convention there, I get to finally talk about this other topic, which has been brewing in my head for a while now, which is it's really going to be the first time I'm sharing a lot of this stuff.
Yeah. I got to say, when you first told me the title and basically the subject of it, I got totally blindsided in a good way. I had a very knee-jerk response to it.
It was the best possible response I could have gotten from you, by the way. It reaffirmed everything I liked about it.
Dude, I believe you totally, because however different I am from, you know, the average viewer, I feel like I'm in the same camp as they'll be when that talk comes out, because everyone's going to respond to it pretty similar, I think, the way I did. And assuming I'm not just totally projecting on that, but I think I respond like the average viewer will, and it's going to blow them. It's going to blow them away, I think, because it's a really good topic. And I was like, fuck, that's good.
Well, the guys watching right now, they won't be as blown away when the talk comes out because they're going to get a little bit more insight into what is actually going to be about. It won't be like you did. Once I explained a little bit more behind the title, you saw that there was a lot more to it. So you weren't as like, you know, you were like, okay, Nick, you got me at that point. So these guys here who are talking to right now, they'll get like more of a sneak peek. They'll be ahead of the curve.
Yeah. Yep. So what's the title, if you don't mind sharing? I know it, but I just want to make sure that you're the one to actually unveil it.
I appreciate it. So the title, brace yourself, is Why Falling in Love Sucks. And I think whatever reaction you're feeling to that title right now, say it one more time, Why Falling in Love Sucks. Whatever reaction you're feeling, I think is an appropriate reaction, and I think it really illustrates why I'm excited about this talk. why I'm excited to deliver this message, because
Because
it does elicit a very primal response in so many people when this topic
yeah,
comes up.
it feels very like at first glance, it was like a very pessimistic, like nihilistic view, I think, or
Yeah,
nihilistic view of it. But then, of
yeah.
course, there's so much more depth behind it.
And it's not pessimistic, as you came to find out. It's not
Yep.
pessimistic
Yep.
whatsoever. I love love. Love is, I don't think I'm overstating this in the slightest. Love is the greatest thing in the universe. And so this is not a knock on love whatsoever. If anything, this is a celebration of love. This is a celebration of healthy, awesome, giving love that builds people up. Instead of a lot of things that often get confused with love.
Yep.
Instead of a lot of things that our culture, that our society kind of mistakes for love.
And that would
Um,
be like infatuation and like just strong emotional responses versus something
exactly.
that's more
Exactly. These
thoughtful.
things that often get called falling in love,
Hmm.
when often the effects it has on people, the responses people have to it. And you can see in just the success rates of relationships are not reflected of actual love. Like you said,
Yep.
there's other words that I think much better describe this process: infatuation.
Yep.
Lust is another good one.
Yeah, I didn't even damn even think of that. You
You
know
know,
what's interesting? You know what I find really interesting though is the word choice you're making with this falling in love.
yeah.
Not only is a talk title, but it's so just the common the lingo for it or the lexicon for it is so accurate to what's going on. I think the fact that you're picking up on that, making a talk out of it, is like just fucking brilliant.
Yeah. Well,
Uh,
it's so. I think that the word choice is so deliberate because falling in love, like that thing, is
mhm.
so championed by our culture. It's the happy ending in like 80% of movies when things aren't getting blown up. But even then, people are still falling. That's still the happy ending after things get blown up. It's always like ever after. But usually when relationships are built off just this rush of endorphins and dopamine, and not really thinking through things clearly and making choices when you're really not
Yep.
making the most logical decisions, often leads to really terrible situations for a lot of people. And so I think that the whole infatuation, falling in love thing, it's super fun, and I'm not saying we shouldn't enjoy these things, but when we start like making longer term relationship decisions based on this rush of emotion,
Yep.
people really start getting themselves in trouble. And so that's really what I want to dig into.
Now
Um,
here's a question
yeah.
too. How do you expect, or what's the main goal for viewers and attendees to benefit from this talk? Like, what is going to be the outcome for them that is like really positive? Is there one? I'm assuming.
Yeah,
I'm assuming.
I hope so. I really hope
Yeah.
so. Well, that's a good question because the reason why I'm giving this talk, the reason why I'm so excited by it, the reason why this is it holds a personal note for me is because it is such a personal subject.
Mm.
Because for the majority of my adult life, based my relationship decisions on like who I felt that strongest rush of emotion with. And there's so many things that are going on when that's happening. You could be, triggered by people from your past. They could remind you of this person or that person from whatever situation. There's just so many things that are happening. When those chemicals are rushing through your brain, and for so long, I based my relationship decisions on how strongly I felt that,
Yeah.
how much we had that going on, and then like clinging on that relationship and making it work no matter what. When sometimes we should have never been in a relationship to begin with. We should have simply enjoyed what we had for what it was, and
Yep.
not try to make something happen between two people that really weren't compatible on a longer term scale. And I think a lot of people, and so I was in this pattern. I was just going. I would be in one of these relationships, and then it wouldn't work out, and I would be crushed, and I would be at this extreme low point in my life, and then I would have to claw and drag my way back up from that. And then I think,
Yep.
okay, I'm ready to date again. And then I would go out and do the exact same. I think I'm going to look, okay, I'm not going to, she was like this. I'm going to look for different characteristics in a girl. And then I go out and do the exact same goddamn thing. And she might have been different in some of the ways that I was looking for.
Yeah.
But this pattern kept happening over and over and over again. And I just got so sick of it. And I said, there's got to be something I'm missing. There's got to be something I'm doing wrong. Maybe it's time to start looking at this thing that's been championed by our society as the greatest fairy
Yeah.
tale, like happily ever after in the world. Maybe just because you have that rush of emotion with someone, You shouldn't like abandon all like logical thought
Yep.
and dive in head first with that person. Maybe it's time to look at this situation a little bit more deeply so that we can start making more educated decisions on the relationships that we're taking on. Because, I mean, as you know as well as anyone and as we've all had painful experiences with, this is such a major decision that we all make in our lives. And so I think to give as much perspective to it, as much of an educated decision that we can make in those situations.
You know,
Better for everyone, because everyone gets hurt when you enter into those. Like nobody comes out unscathed. Like you're doing the world, and this is family, friends. You're doing the world a better, making the world a better place by making these decisions in a more educated fashion.
yeah, yeah, educated, and it really comes off to me too as thoughtful and mature, which is
Conscious.
otherwise, vastly lacking in the marketplace.
Word.
One of the things too, I was just going to say, you like this a lot, I think. You remember Damien Dico from the Tampa convention in 2014?
Yeah, no, I'm recalling him. I can picture him.
Yeah, he's one of the Australian speakers. And recently I was talking to him, and he said, and this goes right along with what you're saying, he said, our choice of romantic partners, especially long-term partners, is going to impact, or is going to make, it can be the most miserable choice of your life or the most happy. And definitely this choice is central to like what you're going to experience in the long run from that stuff. So I hear a lot of what you're saying, what he was saying too.
And I didn't even bring up like getting into like children being had. I mean, the effect, the impact that these and the lives that they're going to go on to lead, and the people that they're going to go on to influence. I mean, these are major, major decisions that should not be taken lightly. And
that's one of the
like we should be afraid that we should just pack it in and become hermits and never go on another date again. I'm obviously not saying that, but it's good to be aware of what's actually going on when emotionally we're not thinking as clearly as we might want to be.
One of the you might not be surprised by this, but one of the things people bring up to me first, based on my recent relationship, is they're like, "Do you have any kids?" And I'm like, "No, we didn't have any kids." And they're like, "Thank God." Yeah, I think just like you're saying, it's like that, is what a lot of relationships will lead to biologically. So it's like, fuck, like
it happened.
Paramount.
How I've escaped not having a child at this point in my life, I'm not certain. And knock on wood, I don't want to flirt with the devil on this one. But so it's like these things happen. We're human beings. We procreate. It's pretty hardwired into us. So. But yeah, I mean, but once again, being an adult means bringing that consciousness into it, bringing in like what are the longer term effects of the decisions that I'm making, and the broader impact that that's having on the people in my life and on my life overall.
Hey, let's pause and man, there's like 30 comments people made. There's a shit ton of them. Let me take a look at these and see if there's something
what we got.
We can get into. It's just a lot of like love comments, like how much they love you and stuff.
Excited to see everybody in person in Miami.
Yeah. Oh, someone just said Nick, you changed a lot. Yeah, I would agree with that. You've definitely, our film director too, Gattino, he's also commented about you, like how much you've matured over the years since he first met you in 2009. Like your wisdom is like really like showing now that you're older. He
actually told me in Orlando this past year that the speech, the speech that I gave, it might not, get as many views as some of my past speeches or something like that. But he said just, based on the maturity in the speech and what I was talking about, he said it was his favorite speech I've ever given, which was really great to hear that. Because I'm talking about deeper subjects, and people change, people grow. If any one of us is the same person that they were 5 years ago, like, man, what did you do with those 5 years?
Exactly.
So you should be out there having these life experiences that should shape and should mold the way you look at things. And I've certainly had more than my fair share of those.
Yep. Here's a question, by the way. This one's, I think, pretty cool. So the White Buddha said, question. Do you think unconditional love is also another myth? Do you have some thoughts to share on that? Would that be covered perhaps in your book, As You Are, by Nick Sparks?
Just sitting in a different position. I don't know if I get quite that deep in my best-selling award-winning book. No.
Number one best-selling book of the 21 Convention right here, guys.
No, but it's a really good question. I don't want to let that question go without it being answered.
Yeah,
Do I
it's
think
a huge question.
unconditional love is a myth? Like, no, I could absolutely the most resounding no I can possibly give. I think unconditional love is the greatest truth in the universe. Possibly, potentially, some philosophers might argue the only real thing in the universe. Idea's been tossed out there. I don't know. But what I can say is that the only reason why we don't experience it more often is because, like this human condition, it brings up fear, it brings up doubt. Like this human condition is about overcoming those things or learning to live in harmony with those things. And so I think that unconditional love is everywhere. I think that, and why do we have these fears? Why do we have these doubts? I mean, love is easy when you don't have these things to battle against it. I mean, what does it really matter if you're just loving everything in this peaceful, perfect, harmonious universe? But when love can exist, when love can flourish in a place that can be hard, that can have so much fear and pain and doubt, I mean, is there any more beautiful expression of it? So, yeah, I think that unconditional love is completely a reality. I think it's everywhere. But I do think that, yeah, our human nature and this condition that brings on these fears and these doubts does get in the way of that, unfortunately. But I think
I wonder too if there's any with unconditional
humanity does a
love.
pretty decent job of bringing it out.
Yeah, yeah. Well, one of my questions, follow-up question to this, then is, do you see unconditional love affecting people, men and women, anyway, regarding falling in love, like you're talking about, or you're going to talk about in your speech?
Well,
Like maybe it's something they're rushing into, perhaps.
I'm definitely going to cover it in my speech. But yeah, no, love, like real love, right? Most of us have been fortunate enough to experience at least like one instance of this in our life. Real love isn't something that happens in any short amount of time. Like real love is something that happens over a long period of time. You get to know someone, like, oh, yeah, it has to happen over time. You get to know people better, and slowly different sides of you come out, and you get to know, and you have fights, and you have arguments, and you mend those, and you work together, and you grow together, and like through this process of growing together and learning about each other more and at a deeper level, I think that's where love happens. Whereas, that flash boom thing, yes, we call it love. You can if you want to, but I think it's something very different. I think a good way to talk about this is the Greeks. A lot of people remember from their social studies textbooks that the Greeks had three different words for love,
Oh
right?
yeah.
Eros, agape, and philia. But I think to say it that way, I think to look at it that way, the Greeks had three different words for love. I think that's really short-sighted. I think a better way to look at it is to say that the Greeks had these three different words for three different concepts, and we just use one word to describe all three of those concepts. Like their language was better suited to handle these different feelings that we just use one word to describe all of. And yeah, we got infatuation or whatever, but they really had these three words.
Yeah.
So they did have that. They had a word for lust. Like, is it a word for love? Well, we might call it that with our limited language or whatever. But they had eros, they had that fire, they had that passion, and babies get made, and humans get procreated, and there's a lot of theories as to why we have this in our human.
This is interesting. Yeah, I'd like to. I hope a lot of this is in talk in Miami.
Yeah, I'll be digging more into it. So then you got philia, which is like a friendly love, a familiar love.
Okay.
All that stuff. We know what that is. We can conceptualize that. And you got agape, which is it's a romantic love, but it's not the eros. It's that what we were just talking about. Two people growing and developing together over a long period of time. And I think even the Greeks were talking about, although philosophers of the day were talking about that being the most sacred kind of love. There's a lot of thoughts going on about that. But who's to say? But yeah, our culture says, oh, those are three different words for love. Who's not to say, well, those are actually three different concepts, and we just use one word to describe all those concepts.
Yeah, and the homogenization of that word sounds problematic today.
Yeah.
I like this a lot.
Because it sells. Like you put that on greeting cards, you put that like on advertisement, and love sells.
Yep. All right. Let me see if there's one more question here before we move on.
That's why it's in the name of my speech, and not why falling infatuation sucks.
Yeah, good point. So another question here, and then we can get on to some other topics. Mad Hatter, Can you talk about good strategy to learn about various interests and conversation topics for conversation to charm and impress people for friendship connection?
Yeah.
I can copy and paste it if you want, but a long one.
Oh my goodness.
And I'll put it in our chat.
I'm not even gonna deconstruct that question. But sure, I'll go ahead and answer it. Yeah, there it is. Can you talk about good strategy to learn about various interests and conversation topics for conversation to charm and impress?
I mean, the obvious answer is just attend the 21 convention. It's basically how you do that.
Obvious. Number
Obviously.
one.
Or take a workshop
Yeah.
with Nick.
Yeah, attend the 21 convention, work with me. Read my book if you haven't already. That goes beyond without saying.
That's right.
But assuming that you've already, oh, what's that? Assuming you've already done that, talk to people, practice, go out and yeah, you've heard me say this in these speeches. It's way harder to have conversations with people who do intimidate you. So just get good at the game on easy level, and then maybe even medium. Like practice talking to people who don't intimidate you. Get good at having conversations. Being a good conversationalist isn't about, okay, I'm going to talk about these things. Oh man, everybody loves me now. No, it's about listening to people, being emotionally like responsive to people, really making them like used to making people feel like they're special, seeing how their words influence you, and then responding with the first thoughts off of your head, your personality, your own emotion, your own feelings that you want to contribute to this conversation, this dynamic, explosive sometimes, more subtle others, but very, very what's the word, impulsive or very much in the moment creative experience that happens between two people. And you get good at that by doing it more, by having conversations with people and just trying to listen to what they say as closely as possible, to put all your attention on them without worrying about whether they're hot or not,
I'd like to add,
throwing out your first responses without thinking if it's the right thing to say or whether it's going to be the cool thing or whether it's going to show enough interest or not enough interest or blah, 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 blah.
Yeah.
Just practice talking to people. And the more you do that, the more comfortable you're going to get, and the more that social momentum is just going to flow for you, the more you're going to feel comfortable talking to people that you are attracted to, and it'll still be hard, but you got the muscle memory to do that. The more you just become a social person, a charismatic person that people like talking to, that naturally attracts people to them, right? So,
I'd love to add here that my sister would probably kill me for saying this, but when I was talking to her a few weeks ago, you got to meet one of my sisters recently at the convention. I believe she said that you made her feel like she was the only person in the room. Don't quote me on that, but I think that's what she said when I was talking to her about you.
Did she read my book before saying that?
If she might have been chewing through the book, I don't know. But
did I say somewhere towards the end of the book that Bill Clinton, politics aside, Bill Clinton had this ability that he would make you feel like you were the only person you're talking to. So for her to say that about me, it's a very nice.
This was a conversation at like midnight or something, so it was really late. We were out downtown and stuff, but I'm pretty sure that's what went down. That was the gist of it. So I found that interesting because I know I've heard you say that before too. But yeah, she'll probably kill me now, but whatever.
But I mean, and it's not like I always do that. There's certainly times where I get distracted, where I'm anxious about something, where maybe the person in front of me intimidates me. But the more that I'm just practicing doing this with human beings, connecting with human beings, the better shot I've got at doing that in most situations that I'm in.
Yep. Well, hey, before we take any more questions, we should probably get moving on with this. So you're speaking at the 21 convention in a few weeks here in Miami, Florida. That's our second and main event of the year, final event of the year. It's October 20th to 23rd, and people can get tickets to come meet you, me, and the other speakers, about 20 of them.
Amazing roster. I'm super excited just to hang out with the guys, too.
Fuck yeah, man. It's so good hanging out with everybody and seeing everybody. It's like a giant family, very male-oriented, but very family, level gathering.
Very male-oriented. You get a lot of different, like healthy, fun, different male perspectives, and just the combination of it all is really a great experience.
We got some new speakers too, of course. Gareth and Zan and a few others. I'm really excited to meet Zan for the first time.
This is a little tiny fact. This is the second time I'll be meeting Zan, even though I'm sure he doesn't remember me whatsoever. I was maybe only in this industry for a few months. And he came, and I was living in Chicago, and I was only in Chicago for like 6 months overall. And Zan was coming to speak at Project Chicago.
Okay.
There was Sean Stevenson, and I had never heard of Sean Stevenson at that point. And they come, and I was excited to hear him talk. And yeah, and Sean Stevenson just blew me away. He opened up for Zan, just blew me away. And then Zan was amazing of course. So I introduced myself, but I highly doubt that they remember who I am whatsoever. But it'll be really cool to see him again. I'm a fan.
Yeah.
Talked to guys who work at his company. I've met with them. Like, really big fan of what he does.
Yep. I've been watching him on and off for like 10 years now or something like that. So it's going to be quite a moment to meet him.
Yeah.
I'm not super familiar with his work, but from the bits and pieces I've read and what people have told me, speakers, attendees, even investors, people love this guy.
Yeah.
And his little company, Ars Samarata, I think that's how you say it.
Ours Amarada, something like that.
Yeah, something like that. So shit, my camera's getting super bright. So yeah, you'll be there next month. A bunch of other speakers will too. And they can get tickets at the21convention.org, which is also underneath the video. They should definitely come out, meet you, have a good time. And of course, like we were just talking about, you are going to be doing coaching, offering that on Saturday night during the convention. So the convention's all day, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. And Saturday night, they can do coaching with you. And that is a pretty special thing because you don't do that often.
I am. No,
Although
I've been. You might have heard I was taking some time off coaching for almost 3 years now. I'm doing it a little bit here and there because I love it, but I'm really missing it. Really, really thinking about doing it a little bit more than I have been. And I thought, the 21 convention's an awesome place to really get it kicked off. So yeah, so Saturday night. I'll definitely be hitting the town with whoever'd like to go out, and yeah, I will be all over you and giving you as much feedback and answering as many questions and getting you in as many positive social interactions as we can possibly muster in a night's time.
Well, dude, it's also going to be, of course, in Miami, Florida, so it's hell of a city to be doing this in too.
Yeah, Miami's not the worst place in the world to be going out for this either. Not that I don't love Orlando, but Miami's definitely a step up when it comes to going out. I shouldn't say that in case we do our next convention at Orlando. There's a lot of great spots. I always have a good time when I'm in Orlando. Not knocking that, but Miami is still Miami.
Yep. I like Orlando, but yeah, Miami has beautiful women, and we're right near downtown. The hotel is like 10 minutes from downtown.
Nice.
Not even, it's like 9, so it's really close to the downtown area. And then South Beach is like right beyond that too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
so
going out.
some of the best spots in the world, definitely. Yeah. And you'll take up to 3 guys, you said too, right?
Absolutely. Any more than that, I'm not giving as much individual attention as I'd like. I found over the years.
Yeah.
I don't want to do like a huge thing where I'm barely talking to anyone. Just like to hang out with some cool people who really want to focus on improving, want to focus on just bringing their A game and overcoming some blocks that they might be overlooking that they want to get past. So, yeah,
cool.
Good time.
Well, guys, if you don't have a ticket yet, definitely get one at the21convention.org. You can come out and meet Nick and about 20 other speakers. And, of course, if you want, you can also take coaching with them if you're one of the 3 lucky enough to get a spot. Other than that, so before we get off, we'll wrap this up in a minute. You said that you're going to be starting coaching soon on your own, more consistently in Austin and then maybe elsewhere in the U.S.
Yes.
So can you talk a little bit about that and they'll get that, of course, probably at sparksofattraction.com, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I know you were saying for 21 guys who might be interested. You'd obviously be there to talk to them, but yeah, just on the bigger scale, be looking to do a little bit more coaching than I have been. Maybe not the full scale, maybe not 110% full blown, but definitely getting back up to 50, 60% and seeing how that feels.
Because you used to coach probably every weekend, right? Back years ago, like a lot.
Get up to like every other weekend. I've definitely done every weekend before it gets overwhelming, especially when you do it for almost a decade. But
damn.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, I'm excited, man. I'm excited to.
I'm as refreshed as I can possibly be, and I'm very excited to do it more. Like all the times that, the few times I've done it in between now and when I was really doing it a lot, like they've been amazing experiences with really awesome guys, and so. That more than anything has made me like even hungrier to do it more.
Yeah, I think you have, if I'm not mistaken, I think you're the coach, you're the specific one with like a 100% success rate, right, for your students?
I mean, I work with a lot of guys who have worked with a lot of other companies that are still looking for answers, that still aren't satisfied or are still spending more money. But yeah, when a guy works with me, he never worries about this stuff again. He doesn't have to go looking for.
That is fucking badass, man.
Satisfied. He can focus on, maybe he wants to work on his career a little bit harder or work on his physical fitness. But this is taken care of.
Yeah, that is. I know you're fun coaching and everything else is like that too. So it's badass that you can offer that and
And
you can actually say that.
that's the point. You shouldn't like you do something in order to get it done. You attack something in order to figure it out, so you don't have to keep on, like so it doesn't keep on dragging you back. And so to see guys going through this space, like that was one of my long time ago. That was one of my biggest goals in coaching was I'd see guys going through this and they'd just be going through it and over and over and over and getting worse. And I was like, no, that sucks. Like there's no way that this should be like what we're striving for as a coaching industry. That's there's got to be better than that. So that was really my goal to eliminate that. Like, no, when a guy gets coaching, he should be satisfied. It should be done.
Dude, I wish every coach. I think this 21C speakers are similar, but I wish every coach in the industry has kind of
coaches. A lot of awesome coaches at 21. Far higher than the industry average. That's for sure.
Yeah. I still wish though this was like the norm in the kind of dating and seduction industry like this. It's fucking badass. So just the balls to say that like with a straight face, like every guy gets that shit handled with me, and I know you mean it too. Like you're not kidding.
And on the same token, I always say not every single guy is going to be in a place where it's going to be the best fit for him. You know, a dude who's really, really entrenched in like PUA type stuff, like sometimes like he's not quite ready to take in what we're working on here.
They got to be receptive of it.
Fail with that shit a little bit longer before they're going to be ready to completely leave it behind. But anybody who's ready, no, 100%.
Fuck yeah, man. All right. Well, Nick, we're going to wrap up with the YouTube one. Guys, we'll be going on a 21 University live stream exclusive at 21university.com here in a bit with Nick, where we're going to get even more in-depth conversation and answers live from Nick for 21 U students.
Even deeper.
Even deeper.
We're going to really nerd out, and it'll be fun.
I'm excited, dude. There's a lot to discuss. All right, guys. Thank you for tuning in live. Nick, thanks so much for your time here on YouTube. There's a link to everyone. There's a link to both the ticket page to get a ticket in Miami and meet Nick, as well as Nick Sparks' website. You can also find him on Facebook at facebook.com/meetnicksparks. Right?
Yes, sir.
Cool.
That's right.
All right. See you, everybody. Everybody, thanks for tuning in. And thanks for your time, Nick.
Thanks, guys.